Gotta have it vertical.
Hi everybody, we're just getting everything all set up to go live in regards to a situation today. So we'll wait for a second to see who, if anyone, can jump on.
You don't have to tell me.
Hi, Karen.
It's okay.
We're just gonna wait a few moments until more people join us. Hi, Savannah. Hi, Kelsey.
It's a little odd because we have other members of our group in the room, and so we can hear our voices on their phones, so it's a little awkward. But we're gonna do the best we can to give you guys some information, address today's events and circumstances surrounding them, and hopefully answer a lot of your questions. We appreciate you all jumping on today. So I guess we'll go ahead and get started.
Okay.
So I'm Brianna, and this is Kelly.
Hey, guys. Okay, so we're gonna start by saying thank you for joining us today. We wanted to address today's events and the circumstances that are forcing us to share the situation without delay. We want to make it abundantly clear that we do not have public records surrounding today's events, but due to the nature of the executions, we feel it needs to be addressed immediately.
So a little disclaimer, if we receive any information differing from the information that we're sharing today, we will correct it immediately.
This was the exact moment we sought to prevent, and horrifically, 13 dogs were killed at SCRAPS today. To our knowledge, the staff and volunteers were not informed prior to the murders.
We will try to answer any questions you have, but please understand, we will not be able to reply to every question and comment.
Before we get into details, we will be having a vigil and peaceful protest outside of SCRAPS this Sunday, the 24th, from 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. We had initially said it would be Saturday, but due to scheduling conflicts, we had to change to Sunday. And although this situation is absolutely infuriating, to say the very least, we absolutely cannot bring violence to the vigil. No aggression, no threats, no vandalizing. At this point, SCRAPS has approximately 80 dogs, and 13 were killed today. We know that this is statistically impossible, that all of these dogs were truly dangerous and unable to be placed. Only 1% to 2% of all dogs are truly dangerous beyond rehabilitation.
The dogs, we have been told by multiple sources, most anonymously, that have lost their lives today are Balfour, Bambi, Bentley, Cooper, Dougie, Hendrix, Mai, Max, Nezzy, Rambo, Rizzo, Rudy, and Violet. Of these dogs, 2 had qualified and experienced homes waiting to adopt them, and many others had potential adopters waiting for these assessments.
SCRAPS has already posted a statement on their website, along with copies of assessments for these 13 and others. We would like to comment on their statement.
SCRAPS says that they're committed to ensuring the highest standard of care and ethical treatment of animals. However, in the numerous public records we've received, we have found severe cases of neglect, including lack of medical care, lack of pain control, basic vaccinations, medical intervention for curable ailments such as diarrhea and weight loss, no care for animals who suffered traumatic brain injuries. Some of these resulted in death. They also state they routinely encounter and impound dogs that bite or attack a person or another animal without provocation, or are aggressive, physically threatening, or have severe behavioral concerns. Again, 1 to 2% of all dogs are truly aggressive. So this is a false statement.
There is a law that animal control officers are to follow in order to deem a dog dangerous. There have been dogs that were deemed dangerous, such as a dog named Oatmeal, that we have not brought to light due to the fact that he was deemed dangerous by law. We understand in these specific cases, the law must be followed.
I'm going to go off track a little bit. I do see a comment from Wolf that shouldn't it be noteworthy that the assessments on their site give recommendations for placement, none of which include death? We absolutely agree with you. It's very, very frustrating that no one was told that this was happening. No one was given a chance to take these dogs home or move them to rescue placements or do anything without being told. So yes, that is absolutely noteworthy and absolutely disgusting. SCRAPS does go on to state in rare cases, after certification by a licensed veterinarian or a behavior specialist on staff, that impounded dogs deemed to be an untreatable threat and thus a public safety risk may need to be humanely euthanized. If this is in rare cases, then why are 13 dogs dead at their hands? 13 animals being killed is not rare. They state humane euthanasia is only employed as a last resort, and this is obviously not the case by reading their assessments, as Wolf pointed out. It's clear that they had other options. Many of these dogs were not allowed to be walked, provided any enrichment, or go on off-site adventures that they had been accustomed to.
SCRAPS also states that they have a 93% placement rate for animals in their care. When your population isn't changing because you're refusing to take stray, ill, injured, and dangerous animals, as we've seen the public stating, it's very easy to manipulate your statistics.
SCRAPS goes on to state that they do have to turn away strays who are not injured, sick, or dangerous. In those instances, they work to employ a community sheltering model. Well, I'm sure you've all seen from a multitude of comments, posts, and private messages, they're actually turning away injured, sick, and dangerous animals, or potentially dangerous, I should say, leaving the public to foot the bill, the burden of care and shelter, all while our tax dollars pay for a service that we're not getting.
Kelsey, so we touched on it a little bit. Several of the dogs that they killed today had homes and adopters, qualified adopters, like beyond qualified adopters for them. And several of the other dogs that were killed today also had potential adopters that have been on a waiting list to be notified for the moment that they were available for adoption. So even if they were at capacity, many of these dogs could have been adopted. They did not have to die.
They also state blatantly that they do not euthanize for capacity. So that should not be the case. Carol, you're asking what is our solution to this problem? Actually, for them to do their job, to post these animals, get them out in the public, ask for rescues to come get them. You know, the United States is very large. There are a ton of rescues. Most of these animals had potential adopters or qualified adopters. So they can do their job. They can have adoption events. They can pay for training. Instead of paying $10,000 for assessments for behavior, they could have paid to have whatever behavior concerns trained for these dogs. So, you know, there are a lot of different solutions. We also offered to present to the county commissioners an entire presentation on solutions to the issues that SCRAPS is having right now. And at this time, we have not received any response to that. So we'll go ahead and move on.
Picking up where we left off, community sheltering is discussed in depth by the Best Friends Network partners, an organization who many are also speaking out against for their inhumane and barbaric practices.
SCRAPS states that they enlisted the expertise of nationally recognized Shelter Playgroup Alliance. You may hear that term surrounding a multitude of rescues and shelters in our area and across the country. They enlisted them to train them in the Canine Assessment of Risk for Shelters tool, otherwise known as CARS. And they state it's in accordance with their contractually obligated ASV guidelines, which is the Association of Shelter Veterinarians. They absolutely did enlist CARS to come. This 4-day training with a group of CARS staff cost $10,000. Additionally, they had previous training, which the SCRAPS Hope Foundation claimed they did not pay for. However, we have proof that they did. They're a 501c3, obligated to be honest when soliciting donations, and they were not. That's questionable right there. Once again, they placed over 25 dogs on hold for months, awaiting this CARS team to come train them while incurring costs, even though behavior assessments are widely disproven in the animal welfare community, and tools such as CARS are supposed to be used in an entire program, not just a 1-day or 50-minute assessment.
As far as the ASV guidelines, they state the shelter's mission or mandate should reflect the needs of the community it serves. They also state that authority and responsibility for tasks and decision-making must be given only to those who have appropriate knowledge, training, and when applicable, credentials. A certified behaviorist is not someone with continuing education hours. Once again, making it clear they're not following the ASV guidelines. SCRAPS contractual obligations were not upheld as per their contract with the city of Spokane. They are to restrict euthanasia to animals suffering from irremediable illnesses.
And although Director Ferrari tends to claim they did not violate their contract, he likes to show just the contract and not the amendments to it. Those are on the attachments, and we do have that as a public record if anyone would like to see them. Lastly, they state they remain committed to transparency and accountability in their decision-making and operations, and also state that they're open to the public. I don't believe committing to transparency would be not letting your volunteers or staff know that you're gonna murder 13 dogs. And if you're open to the public, why can't we walk through those front doors? Why are we forced to make appointments and ring a doorbell to go through animal receiving? Which is also part of the ASV guidelines, that you should have a separate entrance for adoptions than receiving animals.
Unfortunately, we will not be able to go into details in regards to every dog at this time due to time constraints and the fact that as a group, we are grieving heavily. The picture that SCRAPS management is trying to paint is one of fear, danger, liability, and cannot be furthest from the truth. Right now, there are still at least 13 dogs marked as awaiting behavioral assessments. They are absolutely at risk to be executed as well.
We're gonna get into Cooper. Cooper's assessment claims he had multiple bites. One to a child, one to a child's face, one from opening a door and running out and biting them on the leg. Yet none of those bites are founded. There's no documentation. They're unsubstantiated. There's no picture. There's no victim's name, address, phone number. There was no follow-up investigation by that officer. That's a mistake on the officer's part, but it cost Cooper his life. There was a bite report filed. It had no victim information, had no photos, and there was no follow-up. If Cooper were a human, would he be convicted of the death penalty for something with no proof? No, but he's a dog, so SCRAPS doesn't care. At least SCRAPS management. Again, unfounded, undocumented, and unsubstantiated. There are multiple contradictions in his record that state he tolerated other dogs in playgroup. It might not have been his favorite. My dogs are very similar. But he never blatantly attacked them, except someone returning him after they adopt stated he did. Kind of odd. Again, no proof. He was taken off site 10 times with his adopter who was waiting for him to become available after these assessments. She already has a behavior dog. She knows what it takes to be a responsible dog owner. But guess what? Scraps didn't allow her to adopt Cooper, even though he did nothing to either one of her dogs on the 10 off-site meet and greets he had. Michaela, I wish you could hug me too. And I wish I could hug you. I know Nessie was one of your favorites. Sorry.
I wanted to touch, we will get back to Cooper's contradictions within the assessment and his report in a moment. Denise, Cathcart does know, and Cathcart is absolutely doing everything that he can and has been doing everything that he can. So kudos to him. If you're in the area of City of Spokane, please vote for him when it's re-election time because he's been amazing.
Yes, absolutely. They have been listening, they have been watching, they have been looking into all of this. Councilmember Karen Stratton as well, Lisa Brown, who is running for mayor for the city. They've been just amazing human beings. Okay, going back to Cooper. There are also contradictions that he bit this child, but according to Cooper's record that we do have, prior to these assessments, he was taken to an elementary school and was constantly pet and loved on by the children getting out of school with no incident. None of this makes sense. They mentioned that Cooper was teeth clacking in his assessment, but those of us that know Cooper or knew Cooper, we know that's his way of talking. That is his way of saying, why did you stop giving me treats? Why are you taking me out of my kennel? He's trying to get your attention. He's not trying to harm anyone, ever. They state his summary of risks indicates his unmanageability, or indicate his I can't speak, I do apologize. They state his summary of risks indicates unmanageability around other animals and offer recommendations that Cooper would need to be adopted by someone who can put up baby gates, have airlock door closures, would need a 6-foot fence, significant amounts of training, to be wearing a muzzle, not to be around children, not to be around other animals. They're basing those needs on unsubstantiated claims, unsubstantiated issues, and a whole 50 minutes of a behavior assessment in which a volunteer watched and stated he did amazing. If you don't think that this is a problem, that they wiped out an entire population of dogs, if you think that this is not affecting cats, it is. We can only bring up so much information. We have the records. We have the proof. There was a cat who suffered head trauma. It was taken to emergency pet care in Post Falls. They documented it. His pupils were non-responsive. He had ringworm. He was put into that ringworm room and died a number of days later. He was never looked at again by a veterinarian. Not once. He died alone in a kennel. This is unacceptable, you guys. Our tax dollars are paying for services for the animals being dumped in our communities that are injured, and they're not getting care. Not all of them. Yes, Alexandria, this is, or I apologize, I definitely pronounced your name wrong, Alexandra. This is happening in so many shelters across the country and nothing is being done. So something that we're seeing and we're looking into is that Best Friends Animal Network, which we mentioned above, and Haas,
Socially conscious
sheltering, have been really pushing this community sheltering and all of that. And we're seeing happening across the nation where they're implementing this community sheltering. Sorry, we do have dogs here, shocker. But yeah, it's happening all across the country. And the problem is there is no government agency that oversees what no-kill truly is. And because data can be so easily manipulated, what's happening is they're not looking at all of the pieces of information, only utilizing the ones that they want and saying, oh, well, we have a 92% save rate. Well, that's not accurate. Let's look at the real data. You're not bringing in animals. You're not doing the things you're supposed to be doing. So you'll see us to, yes, Peggy, you did beg to pull Cooper and Nezzy, and they gave you their word that they would contact. I know. It's horrific. These dogs had other options. Kelly, we're not gonna call out the unethical vet as you're stating who killed these dogs. We believe that they know who they are. They know what they've done, and Scraps management has to live with this decision. They get to hold the weight of these animals' deaths and the lack of care that they've received. But it is public record,
Yeah, I was gonna
and
say,
you can look it up on the Scraps or Spokane County website.
it's not very
But
hard to find.
again, we do want to state, please don't harass the staff, don't harass even management, even the veterinarian. We still want everyone to be peaceful because they don't hear us if we're yelling. They just see us yelling. It's horrific, and I am broken. We are broken. And I'm just scrolling through looking at these. Denise, are the county commissioners getting involved yet? No. They are not responding to emails and complaints regarding the situation. We have spoken at numerous meetings, as well as other volunteers, and they have nothing to say.
Sorry, we have two phones going here so we could have it on our group and our page. So I'm seeing some comments over here. So yes, Scraps is classified as a no-kill shelter. If you look on their website, they have no-kill all over their website, which, as Brianna was explaining earlier, there is no governing body that oversees a shelter's rates and how they achieve them to call themselves a no-kill shelter. And then we could get into a whole other conversation, but it depends on the organization's definition of no-kill, right? So the Humane Society of America, they say, 90%, pretty good, but they also they don't have a very rigid calculation system in place. You might be able to word that better than me, to even achieve or to even get to their 90%, right? They might not be calculating every single live animal that comes into the shelter. That means bunnies, fish, reptiles, all of them should be calculated and noted. And so if they're not doing those things or they're just not taking in new animals, then it's really easy to achieve their 90%.
But it's not true.
But it's not true. And really, when you're not bringing in new animals and you're telling the community to just put the dog back where you found it, what happens in the long run of that? The dog starves to death.
Or gets hit by a car, or someone gets injured because they swerved to miss him. That would be me. I would be swerving. Recently, I was informed of a situation where 2 dogs had been dumped up in Dishman-Micah. And I went up with the original finders and helped catch them. That should not be happening. There's so many things. We need to get something to Congress. Yes, that would be excellent. Please send stuff. I worked in rescue as well for 25 years in the Los Angeles area. This is from Debbie, and in North Texas. And what I found is appalling, then pales to what I'm feeling now. Yeah, us too. We know that there are high kill shelters in those areas, and it looks like we're headed in that direction, or it sure seems that way. Lauren, oh no. I was told to double bag the cat that's on the freeway by Freya and throw it away. They can't pick it up because it's a, hold on one second, I apologize, busy area. Wow. That breaks my heart for the cat and the owner of the cat. Since you guys have been tracking this organization, this is from Kelsey, and poor treatment, what sort of call to action would you like to see from the community? What can we do? So we are having a vigil and peaceful protest this Sunday at SCRAPS from 11 a.m. till 5 p.m. We want everybody there. The only requirement is that it stays peaceful. We have to stay out of the streets. We can only be on the sidewalk. There'll be no harassment, threats, anything like that. But let's show up. Let's not let these dogs die in vain. Let's keep fighting for them.
And I would like to add, right now, something that we are trying to prioritize is having people that don't live within the city of Spokane's limits go to your local city council meetings and start to advocate for the same verbiage in the contract between them and SCRAPS. Right now, the city of Spokane is doing an amazing job, but guess what? It's an entirely different contract with the Spokane Valley, with Cheney, with Medical Lake, with all of these different areas. So it's amazing what the city of Spokane is doing, but we have to get unification in these contracts and eventually, hopefully, the ordinances within all of those cities as well, so that we can maintain safety for all of the animals.
Samantha says, it seems like SCRAPS management is more concerned with having a nice government job than having to live with this. I think more pressure needs to be applied to the community, to the commissioners who can actually do something about this. It's election time. That's probably the only thing that will get some of their attention. I agree. I think that the commissioners really need to understand that no kill is what our community wants. This is unacceptable. And yeah, I would suspect the same, that they are more concerned about doing this cush government job and getting paid a significant amount of money, having no experience in it. It's outrageous. But yes, it is election time. And I can tell you, not one so far has stepped up to the plate in trying to hear from us or speak to any of us. So that's been really, really disheartening. Let's see. To all of us, this is from Wolf, to all of us who did get a dog out of there in time, don't forget to give them an extra hug today. So 2 of the last dogs that were able to make it out of SCRAPS alive from the behavior assessment were Oatly, who was adopted by an amazing man named Don, and Castiel, who is now named Zeno and is Wolf's dog. And he is incredible. They're both incredible. And yes, give all of your babies an extra hug today because they deserve it. My heart goes out to the volunteers, to the staff that's still there and still actually gives a shit about these dogs and cats. I know that you're trying to stay and hang on to help the animals that are coming in still, and the officers is included in the staff, obviously. And I don't know how you're doing it, because from the outside, seeing all of this and hearing all of this, I didn't get to give those babies treats. I didn't get to give them a cheeseburger.
As far as we know, no one did.
I can say that previous management, if we ever had to euthanize a dog or cat, they gave us a heads up. We discussed it as a team. We got them cheeseburgers. We got to say goodbye. Some of the dogs that were murdered today, and I say murdered because they were stolen from these people who've worked their ass off for these animals. Sorry, we're looking at a second phone. So I'm going to address Benjamin. Benjamin asks or states, Jesse asked during an all-staff meeting, why is it Scrap's responsibility to take in every animal? Ben had to tell him it was contractually obligated regardless of the capacity of the building. If you classify every dog that jumps up on you as a behavior dog, real behavior dogs, they will be deemed aggressive. Many of the staff members feel the same. They just can't do anything. Yes. So that's something we didn't mention. There is a ton of retaliation, discrimination, and complete chaos going inside those four walls. And if someone volunteers, staff is claiming it's not happening, then they're blind to it. It is happening. The staff has to put their head down so that they don't have a target on their back. There are volunteers like myself who were fired for speaking out, even though they didn't say it's for speaking out. We know that to be the case. There are some that were fired for speaking out, literally. There's also staff members that were goaded into atrocious situations and then disciplined, completely unjustified, when HR looked into it. It's just repulsive. Would protests, this is from Alexandra, would protests in front of kill shelters across the country help to make this stand out? I'm not sure. If somebody wants to reach out to the kill shelters across the country and try to make that happen, I'm not sure that would help in our community, but it might help later on down the road. Annie, I apologize. So yes, we initially had said the vigil and the protest would be Saturday. Unfortunately, due to many of our members having some severe scheduling conflicts and other commitments, we have changed that to Sunday. We do feel that this is a better approach as there is not staff typically there on Sundays, and so the allegations of harassment and blocking traffic would not be a situation.
We do have media sources to assist.
But yes, if you have additional ones, we would love to speak to them, to give them information. We do have proof of everything. Denise, there was a dog on the freeway all weekend, deceased as well. People couldn't get anyone to go get it.
I tried to call it
Actually, Kelly tried to call it in. She almost hit it after it was already passed.
It was
In the middle of the road. And I did go searching for it, but it was super late at night and dark because I was going to take it and get it somewhere to get it scanned for a chip and then contact Scraps to come pick it up during their regular hours. I was not able to find the dog, but that's probably because it was so dark out. Just going back and forth into anything. Heather.
We do have petitions. We can share those in the comments once this.
But 2 of the petitions are now void and moot points because.
I didn't think about that.
Because one was to free Cooper and another was to let Bambi go home, and they were both killed today. So. Heather Holloway asks, and are they full by their own doing? Let them be adopted and taken into rescue. Exactly. That's what we want. We only want them to do their job. Put promotions out there, do adoption events, do your job like it was being done in the past. Lauren, I took a dog in that Scraps wouldn't help and he was dying of 2 different kinds of cancer. Sitting on a memory care facility floor. It's horrible. I'm so sorry, Lauren, but I'm glad in a way that he ended up with you because at least he knew love in his last moments and days or however long you were able to keep him. Kimberly, I tried to get my local shelter to take Scraps dogs, but they would not, even though they weren't even close to being full. Yeah. Oh, I apologize. I just knocked that over. Yeah, that is unfortunately the case, and it all depends on where your local shelter is and if they're full or if they have any kind of illness going through or things like that. but yeah, it's very disappointing that some of these animals couldn't get out. Denise says, funny, the day no kill, but the ridiculous letter I got back from Jesse goes on to explain that they really aren't no kill and rambled with a bunch of nonsense. It was clearly a form letter. Yeah, we're noticing that as well. Exactly. It wasn't a slaughterhouse. These places are becoming nothing short of a slaughterhouse. Yes, I agree.
What was that quote earlier?
Do you think we can expect any outward participation from the staff and volunteers? It's a precarious situation, but it'd be helpful to know so that we can offer them additional support as their protests would be most impactful. Well, what I can say, I don't foresee staff, current staff. There is former staff that is speaking out and is supporting, as you heard me speak about Benjamin. Current staff and current volunteers are being retaliated against. They can't speak out. They can't be honest. They can't tell anybody what's going on inside those four walls. And when they do, they get steamrolled or gaslighted, and that's by HR. We actually have the HR investigation that shows this. So I can't speak for them, unfortunately, but with the killing of these animals and the concern that there are many more to come, I would suspect that more and more volunteers and staff would be leaving because everybody has their own line that they have to draw in the sand. Alicia says the problem is most shelters say they are no kill. Yes, that's correct, because there's no governing body over it. You're welcome, Kelly. It's unfathomable to us as well. Ambrielle, I hope I pronounced that right. Not doubting you at all, but how do you know they were killed? Like, did a staff member let you know? Well, I can tell you that there were numerous anonymous information sources that were provided to us, along with information provided to the city council, along with information provided to other governing bodies, and then SCRAPS posted the assessments and their little speech on their website. So we know. I wish that we were wrong. I wish with everything I had in the world that we were wrong. But I know in my heart, and I trust that these animals are gone. And I trust that SCRAPS is probably going to either make a statement or not. But I suspect in the coming days, you'll all hear about it. And you'll all see proof and hear proof, and more information is going to come out. The only reason that we're addressing it in this platform now is because I got over 150 messages, not in group chats. That's not including the group chats that were going bananas today. Including calls, texts, what's going on? Oh my God, they killed the dogs. People know it's a wildfire. It's spreading quickly. And we knew that we needed to come on here, which is why we're not waiting the 3 months it takes us to get public records on these dogs. We know, we absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, know that they robbed these dogs of a forever home. Unjustified. Ambrielle, how did you find out? Again, anonymous sources. You may have posted that before I was responding to you. Wolf, what would it take to create and submit an independent TV commercial to run on the local channels like some small car dealership? I don't know, probably money, which I don't believe we have at this time. Actually, I know we don't have it this time because it's probably significant. However, we are looking into becoming an organization that can be a nonprofit. I think it's a 501c4.
Yes.
We're looking into that. But that takes time. So until then, we're not going to be raising funds and things like that. But eventually we will, hopefully, that's the plan. And at that point in time, we'll be advocating for law changes and continue advocating for these animals. We're not giving up.
Mandy, we thought Raven was on the list, but we had confirmed that Raven as of right now, or we think we have been able to confirm that Raven is still alive right now, but Bambi,
Yeah.
yes.
Mandy, we do have reports that Raven is still with us at this time, but Bambi was to be adopted by a former staff member who was fired for speaking out against these euthanasia animals, against unethical euthanasia practices. She was approved to adopt Bambi. And the day she was supposed to go in and pick her up, they said, oh, she's too much risk. We're waiting on legal. Except legal never came. And now they killed her.
Why don't let people come in and adopt and have to make an appointment with no contact back? Yeah, we've been
Heidi,
hammering that in.
Exactly. Because most people walk through a shelter, they want to find the animal that speaks to them or they get a connection to. I mean, that's just how it goes. But yeah, why aren't you letting the public come into a facility that their tax dollars are funding? It's absolutely insane. Casey, what if all the staff scheduled to walk out until Jesse resigns? There's strengths in numbers. They can't fire everyone. Well, unfortunately, we kind of spoke to those things previously when we were talking about things we could or couldn't do and blah, blah, blah. But the employees are human beings and they have medical needs and they need their insurance and they have bills to pay just like everybody else. And some of them, this was their dream job until management that's there now was there. So that's a really tough case. I also think that they would not have the support from their union. And that's just speaking off the knowledge that I have because I do know that they're union. So then they wouldn't be able to claim unemployment. It would just be very ugly. But yes, I agree. There is strength in numbers. Sorry, I just sucked in. But will any media be at the rally? Marla's asking if we'll have any media at the rally. At this point, we don't have confirmed confirmation, but there is some talk that yes, we will. So hopefully that'll be the case. Alexandra, I do want to throw out there a huge thank you to the shelters that do their jobs and give the best care possible to the shelter babies they receive. 100%. That's all we want. That's all our advocacy group has been asking for from day one. And yes, there are good ones out there too. I wish we could fundraise to support a walkout for them. Us too. Has there been any media exposure yet? Yes, so there has. We have spoken on the news a few times. We have had articles in the Spokesman Review, the Inlander, Steffi Roche from KHQ has been actively covering recently. She just spoke out against SCRAPS and allowed us to interview on that.
It is said that she's gonna do a piece on it tomorrow on these dogs.
Yeah, so Steffi is definitely in contact with us and other members of the public regarding the growing concerns with SCRAPS and them not accepting animals. Robin, I took Raven out as a new volunteer, not knowing I wasn't supposed to. He was sweet, easy, and an awesome fetch partner. Oh, this is Jeff on Robin's phone. Yeah, Raven is a good dog. They all are, and they might show some, barrier reactivity in the kennel or other things like that, but they're not. These aren't truly aggressive animals. If they were, we wouldn't be here. We wouldn't be having this conversation because we understand that, unfortunately, as heartbreaking as it is, there are animals that cannot be safely placed. I mean, I have 3 small dogs and they wouldn't pass these assessments. It's bananas. No. So Sunday for the visuals, same time. Yes, it's 11 a.m. to 5 p.m. Yes, please, Anna, please. I appreciate you. Amy Fair works for Spokane County and she is watching, so that's good. Hopefully she'll relay this. But yeah. Let's see. We need to sit outside Walmart's, petition for Jesse's removal, and inform the public what will happen to their animals if surrendered to Scraps. Unfortunately, I think we are at that point where we are going to have to start sitting outside of Walmart and doing petitions for this, because it's absolutely insane. You know, we've been trying to drill this into the community for, what, 9 months now? 11 months since Amelia was killed by Scraps. And no, it's 9 months. My brain is not working. 7?
It'll be 8 then. January 3rd.
So Amelia was killed January 30th. Sorry, citing my sources. Amelia was killed January 30th of this year. So it's been 8 months. It'll be at the end of the year, or at the end of the month, I apologize.
And we've also presented facts to the county commissioners at least 9 different meetings. So they are obviously not listening. So it might be time to be at Walmart.
Yeah, we want people to know what's going on. We want people to stop thinking that Scraps is no kill, like they used to be, because they're not anymore. Killing 13 dogs in one day is not no kill. Absolutely not no kill. And they think we're going away as a community. They think that they're going to do this one big swift killing and that we're all going away. So I would suspect...
By the way, we're not.
Yeah.
Let me make that clear. We're not.
No. This has, I think, reinforced
Absolutely.
our need and our want to bring justice to these animals.
Yeah, it's an absolute need. Cindy, you asked why the commissioners are not acting on the information given. We really can't answer that question. It's purely speculation. They don't even respond to us at meetings, right? So, speculation, budget of some sort, money. Usually comes down to money, right?
Which we've spoken about at the commissioners' meetings. How the budget for Scraps has actually decreased, even though the population in Spokane County has increased. So if the population, the people, and the animal population, because that comes with it, has increased, but your budget's decreased, then you're not serving your public appropriately.
Taxes it.
Christy asked, what about the other dogs that were assessed? Did any pass?
It's we would assume no, because if you read these assessments, they say, I mean, Cooper's blatantly says his recommendations and options were all these different things, and then they killed him.
And
So it doesn't matter that there's recommendations or other options. They're just going to murder him.
yeah.
So
And the
we have no idea.
Yeah, and the volunteer that we've spoke to who witnessed Cooper's assessment literally told us he did good. We were like, oh, think everything, right? Like Cooper did good. That means that hopefully he's gonna get to go home because he has a home, had a home, right? So if Cooper didn't live, speculation, I don't think any of those 26 dogs are walking out of that shelter, but that is clearly and only my opinion. I cannot say that factually.
Anyways, we appreciate all of you. You're okay. Appreciate you joining us tonight. Don't they get money for the dogs they kill?
No, they would get
No.
money for
They would get money for the
adopting
adoptions.
them.
Is there a place that we can gather some sort of these facts together to
Yes.
copy and paste? Yes, so that is in our group, and we have a website coming. It's in the works and should be here very, very shortly, probably by the end of the month. There is specific stories of proven abuse, retaliatory behavior, and it's horrific. We do have all of that. Let's see. I hear all the time that a dog has behavioral issues as a groomer, but 90% of the time, it's just them being scared or nervous. Exactly. Thank
That is
you.
our point.
Thank you so much, Christian. Yes, that's our freaking point. You're putting a dog in a kennel. You're a stranger walking up. Of course they're going to growl and look at you. I mean, some of them don't, and that's amazing. But they're terrified. You've removed any sense of normalcy to these animals. It just, I can go on all day about that. Benjamin's asking if we can post the names of the dogs taken today. We can, Ben, but I will state them again just so everybody has a clear understanding of who is no longer, whose lives were robbed at the hands of Scraps Management. So the dogs that lost their lives today are Balfour, Bambi, Bentley, Cooper, Dougie, Hendrix, Mai, Max, Nezzy, Rambo, Rizzo, Rudy, and Violet. Of those dogs, 2 had qualified and experienced homes waiting to adopt. Others had potential adopters waiting to see if they passed the behavior assessments. And I can tell you right now, 2 of those dogs, well, at least one of them, from what I'm reading, didn't even get a behavior assessment. Max was killed without a behavior assessment. It's literally just notes from Shelter Buddy. And yes, he did have a bite. He's food aggressive. It was an accident. He was killed because he was protecting food in a shelter. This dog never did anything else to anybody. He's very excited, happy boy, loved to play in the water and run around like a maniac, and just a good dog. The emotional wounds that you have caused, Scraps Management, I'm speaking to you because I'm sure you're gonna watch this, but the emotional damage you've caused to your community, to your loyal volunteers, your current volunteers, your current staff,
And your former?
it's repulsive and despicable. You don't care, and you proved that today. Any one of you who had a hand in the lives of those animals being lost, you proved where you stand. Anyways, before I get mad, because I've been going on a roller coaster of emotions, from bawling my eyes out to having to come together with some composure, I appreciate all of you, as our entire group does, and please keep speaking. Oh, Kirsten. This will be the last comment I'm reading. Kirsten, we've been speaking out against a foster she had named Mavis. She said they killed my Mavis and she had a happy home to live out her retirement because she slept too much. And that's absolutely true. This was a 15-plus-year-old Chihuahua who had a tumor on her vulva, so she couldn't be spayed. She was old and she was kind of spicy and crotchety and would grumble at you a little bit. But when her mama, Kirsten, got home, she got all wiggle-butted and would do zoomies. Old lady zoomies, obviously. And they documented that she wasn't eating and that she was head pressing. No, she wanted to be covered up with a blanket because she's an old lady Chihuahua. So yes, they did kill Mavis. She's another one we're speaking out against.
Without notifying the foster ahead of time, from what I understand, right?
They didn't discuss that until right before they were about to do it,
Okay.
and then they called
The
her.
decision was made.
Okay, so, oh yeah, I said last comment, but this will be the last one, okay? And then we'll try to circle back in the next couple of days. We're all really grieving right now, so we'll probably take a little bit of a break. Well, we'll see. We're gonna try to take a little bit of a break. But yes, Kelly, Kat Nichols is a backyard breeder. She adopted a dog from Scraps who happened, It was a puppy, a young puppy, who happened to be a purebred Great Dane. And so for those of you who don't understand, Great Danes can get an illness called bloat, and it's where they get their stomach twists, and it can be deadly. So Kat Nichols adopted this dog. She received the records of her purebred lineage, and she requested a delayed sterilization so that she could go to her regular vet and have the spay done at the same time they do a gastropexy, which is when they tack the stomach to the walls of the body so that it can't twist, and it helps prevent bloat. Totally reasonable request. So that request was granted by former director. Well, Kat Nichols never did that. So number one, clearly she wasn't too worried about bloat. And number two, she was more concerned about breeding puppies. So we know, we have public record that she adopted this dog from Scraps. She admitted that she has bred this purebred dog named Millie numerous times. So by a very reasonable account, if you say that she had 8 puppies per litter and she only had 3 litters, and each puppy is about $1,000, which is a gross understatement for the cost of a good purebred dog. You're looking at $24,000 in profits this woman made off of a Scraps dog that she was supposed to be entrusted to care for and spay. And she's the one overseeing this entity, the one telling these people it's okay to do these behavior assessments and kill all of these dogs. Because had she said no, she's their senior director, they wouldn't have been able to proceed. So she brought, at minimum, 24 dogs into the world and just removed, at minimum, 13. All right, everybody, I think that's all we have time for. That was about an hour. And any other questions you have, you can private message us on either our page, The Underground Rainbow, or our group if you wanted to join that. It is showing as a private group just so we can kind of see who's in there and see if it was a thing. But we had to have a group as well to be able to place files in there. And that's where all of the public records have been uploaded. Now we are we are going to have a website soon where all of this information will kind of be there as well. But please, any questions you have, we would appreciate it, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can. And we appreciate all of your support.
And just to clarify, so the page is what you can share our content from.
Yes.
So if you want to share this video when we finish it, you will be able to. I think it takes about 15 minutes for it to save to Facebook, but you'll have to do it from our page, not our group, because our group is private, our page is public.
Yes.
And you guys can still ask questions on the video afterwards, and we'll try to get around to it in the next 24 hours.
That being said, we did try to make our group public,
We did.
but once you make it private,
You can't undo it.
can't undo that. So that's why it's just going to remain private, and we'll have the website. I mean, everything's kind of there. So thank you all for joining us tonight. We know that was long and a ton of information, and all of it is heartbreaking. But let's step up, Spokane County. Let's do better for these animals. Let's do better for each other, for our community. Let's get them to put some community programs in place that are helping people keep their animals rather than ending up in the shelter and being murdered. All right, everyone, have a good night.